Being a human in fiction with technically no superpowers or nothing is still awesome, because in fiction, if you work out hard enough, you can do superhuman stuff, like how Batman can kick trees down and kick motorcycles in half in DC Comics, or how Cassandra Cain, a Bat family member, can literally stare at the bullets while they're mid-flight and dodge the said bullets mid-air. There's a lot of Dragon Ball humans that are actually pretty strong, but it's easy to overlook them because they get overshadowed or overpowered easily by the top tiers like Goku, Vegeta, the gods and stuff. Even weaker humans that have no energy projective or key control type of abilities like Mr. Satan, Hercule, still technically has some decent feats of strength. And this is considered like the weaker end of the humans. Humans that are weak compared to the Z Fighters, of course, they had like this punching machine to show how hard they can punch. Hercule's punch was 137 and he put everything he had into that. Notice how all the Z Fighters were holding back a lot. Krillin still got a higher score than Hercule. Odds are, when you think of the strongest Dragon Ball human, you either think of this guy. Man, this guy's cheating, man. We ain't counting him because he's basically Boo and reincarnated. You think of these guys when you think of humans. Well, Tien is kind of like a three-eyed subspecies, not really humanist type humanoid being. You think of Krillin when you think of how strong, when you think of the epitome of humans in Dragon Ball. Because when you really sit back and analyze how strong he is, it's really ridiculous. Heck, even characters that get memed like Yamcha are actually pretty strong. But how strong is Krillin? One of the reasons why Krillin is so strong is because he's got training from Master Roshi, a being with over hundreds of years of fighting experience. He's actually a skilled hand-to-hand combatant when it comes to martial arts, and trained alongside Goku. Interesting on how Krillin uses chi manipulation to enhance all his attributes and everything. He can shoot blasts from his hands, can do the incredible Kamehameha, the technique that Goku uses all the time. He can do an attack of blinding light like the solar flare. It's kind of wild this is Tien's technique, but Krillin actually improved it over time. He actually created the solar flare times 100 technique. This new version of the solar flare is so insane that even when a being's eyes are closed, they cannot block out the rays of light, making this a very good maneuver when you're trying to create an opening for yourself. And it also prevents beings from being able to sense the opponent's chi, or ki. One can argue his most destructive attack is the Destructo Disc. It's basically an energy blade. I'm gonna get to this later, but it even allowed him to harm beings that he's nowhere near in the class of when it comes to durability, speed, or anything. One can say it's almost like a hex. But it seems like the more astronomical the opponent is stronger than the person, then the Destructo Disc won't work. But it's still one of his best maneuvers. One of their many training exercises, Master Roshi had him and Goku actually do yard work basically, help build strength and endurance. Creatures that should be scary for humans, he can actually one-shot and dodge their attacks. These thick ropes that be holding bridges together, he can just cut them with his hand chops. The stronger him and Goku got, Master Roshi would up the training. For example, doing all this delivery stuff while carrying, even with this heavy bullcrap on their back, they would still do the training and they were constantly getting stronger. He even physically gets strong enough to push gigantic boulders like this. He can kick beings so hard they go through the wall like flying far. These androids, he can chop their swords in half. It's obvious he's superhuman because when he punches beings like Chaozu, they crack the stone wall outside the ring. Size is indeed irrelevant because he can one-shot beings way bigger than himself. He gets stronger, he gets faster. Remember when Captain Ginyu switched bodies with Goku and Ginyu didn't know how to use his power of his body that good? Krillin was able to spar with a Goku Ginyu that didn't know what he was doing in this body. When we're talking about fighting speed or reflexes in general, he's fast enough to dodge machine gun, fire. He can do the after image technique. One of my favorite feats for Krillin and Gohan in this Namek saga is where they fired an energy blast at Guldo, a being that can literally freeze time. He can only temporarily freeze time, but the fact that they blasted and the blasts were frozen, right? But where the heck are they? The time of him holding his breath and inhaling, they was already about to blitz him. Krillin having faster than I could see type speed. I mean, he's just ridiculously fast. Goldo actually paralyzed Krillin, and this branch spike was this close to him. When they broke free, they were still fast enough to avoid it. A lot of these fights he didn't win, but at least he can affect the beings to be a distraction. Stuff like this nobody notices or pays attention to. He can literally jump from island to island. He's strong enough to hit Nappa like this. Even though Nappa's stronger, they had to team up to do this though. Landed some solid blows on him. Frieza henchmen that thought they had the advantage, they got speed blitzed. Krillin one hits him. He hit Dodoria. He went flying. Even in times of peace, he joins a martial arts tournament when he's not really training like he used to and still can curb stomp other human type characters, showing he's still on another league even if he slacks off. and he's heavily suppressed and holding back. No matter which era, even if we're talking about newer stuff, Frieza henchmen, y'all just need to stop trying to fight the world's special forces. It's obvious that physically speaking, Krillin is stronger than weaker human type characters like General Tao, for example. Look at the power level differences in these early sagas. Not to mention that Krillin keeps improving, but to get an idea of Krillin's power, you can get an idea of how strong this guy and whatever he can do, Krillin can do better. One of this guy's signature moves is simply breaking off a random pillar and throwing it 1,400 miles, by the way, throws it and then rides on it. It doesn't seem to strain him when he does this kind of stuff. Like, he literally was like flying. Folks have calculated this to take thousands of tons of force to be able to throw something this far. When you can throw something this far, it's obviously not your max lifting. I mean, it just kind of makes sense for the stuff that these characters got to do. Their physical strength mixed with their key control output, all this stuff put together, it adds up with him being this strong. Since Krillin lacks screen time and newer stuff, it's hard to get a real good reading on where he's at. Because Goku and them are just so far above him at this point, it's hard to get an accurate reading on where he's at. But just something to think about, the fact that his wife is a cyborg being, his wife's punches and kicks can completely overpower and break the arms of basic low-tier Super Saiyans. Super Saiyan Vegeta. Obviously, Vegeta's stronger than her now, but this is back in the past. Remember that Super Saiyans can cut up beings like Frieza, who was way past star level in his weaker states. This overpowered cyborg is who Krillin is married to. This same android cyborg woman is able to slugfest it with two small Super Saiyans. Krillin can spar with her. Look, I know she's not fighting him bloodlusted, trying to kill him or nothing. But this is just something to think about, that Krillin is pretty freaking strong. A being that's stronger than early Super Saiyans. Or young miniature Super Saiyans. When it comes to the world's special forces, I would like to believe that Krillin is definitely above beings like Chaozu, especially currently, and maybe one can make an argument to where he's up there with Tien. I would personally give Tien the edge, maybe, but them two should be close to each other no matter which saga, right? I think that's fair to say physical strength-wise, right? And we're not even going to talk about if Android 18 decided to actually start training seriously. Her potential will be scary. I mean, just remember how strong Android 17 got from training. Imagine if his wife gets a new form like Super Android 18 or something, like GT or something. Let me stop. Yes, I know it seems like Krillin and them don't make no improvements because we see how much Goku improves and crap. And yes, there are times where Krillin has slacked off in the series, but he's actually jumped back on the training train during Dragon Ball Super and events like that. Let's deep dive on how strong he's actually gotten right quick. The best way to understand Krillin's blast power is to understand that how strong is beings like Master Roshi, who he himself admitted Krillin has indeed surpassed him. Mighty beings like Master Roshi have enough blast power with a Kamehameha to blast away the moon, like vaporize it. And this is when Goku was young. Notice in this panel, Goku is older, so time has passed, and he straight up admitted that Krillin, Goku, all of them has surpassed himself. And even back then, he could blast away the moon. This is already proof he can blast away the moon if he wanted, or blast away a couple moons. For a little while, Dragon Ball actually measured power levels for a little bit until they stopped. And in the early part of Dragon Ball Z, there was a time where Krillin actually surpassed Goku, before Goku had training with King Kai and stuff. This is before the training with King Kai. This is after the training with King Kai. So yeah, he did surpass Krillin there, but there was a point where Krillin surpassed a younger Goku's power level before his training with this guy. There was a time where Piccolo tried to blast Raditz. This same Piccolo at this time period could blast away the moon and make it into dust. Beings that can blast moons away were nothing compared to this being known as Raditz. Heck, even Goku and Vegeta teaming up had major issues with this guy. Of course, Piccolo's always stronger than Krillin. I'm talking about just in this specific time period of Piccolo, not current orange Piccolo and crap, obviously. Krillin's blast was shown to not only beat a Cyberman, but 3 Cybermen with one attack, obliterating him. So right off gate, we're just getting started. Krillin already has a feat proving that he could basically beat 3 Raditzes at the same time if he had to with his blast power. So we just getting started, and we already know he could blast moons apart and vaporize them. Early in his career, Krillin actually surpassed the power of Raditz, not to mention on the Namek Saga. He got his potential unlocked to make his power even greater. His energy or ki output in general can actually intimidate Frieza Force members, so he's stronger than Frieza minions, obviously. He's even surpassed Namekians, beings that are not even human, because of hard work and dedication, along with the other humans too, like Tien and them. Heck, in this occasion, he technically got a kill on Cell, Cell in his little baby form before he even matured at all in the tank. When him and Trunks were blowing up the lab and stuff. His blast could effortlessly destroy entire mountain ranges. In the Namek Saga, his power level was kind of approaching Vegeta's in the previous arc, a being we know for a fact was about to destroy the Earth for real, and he would have done it. This is more evidence of why Krillin should be able to destroy a planet or planets, especially since this is way earlier in his career. Thanks to Vegeta wanting to get stronger, so he let his guard down. He blasted a hole through Vegeta so he can get a Zenkai boost and get healed and stuff. Yeah, I brought this up briefly earlier, but a good showing of his power is his Destructo Disc. Because beings like Nappa, who are way stronger than Raditz, Krillin actually attempted to use a Destructo Disc against. There was implications that if this would have actually landed, it would have actually killed Nappa. It was to the point where Nappa was about to try to just tank it. Vegeta actually had to step in and say duck because it was actually lethal. Yes, he can effortlessly cut through mountains and stuff. And it shows the attack had the ability to cut somebody like Nappa. Even though Nappa was leagues stronger than him, it could threaten him. So one could say his Destructo Disc is like a hack. Krillin is kind of like Black Panther on how Black Panther has some piercing weapons that could damage top tiers like Hulk. Even though we all know if we was to compare Black Panther's muscles to the Hulk's muscles, they're not even close. But his piercing weapons or gear in general can help even the odds a bit. Because notice how Krillin actually hit Nappa and Vegeta with a direct hit with a normal blast that's not the Destructo Disc, and it didn't hurt them really. But when he pulls out the Destructo Disc, Nappa's life was actually threatened. You see it actually can damage him. I want you guys to notice the astronomical difference between a normal blast from Krillin and a Destructo Disc blast. At first, he had no effect on these beings with a normal blast, but the moment he pulls out the Destructo Disc, it actually can threaten their lives if they got hit by it. These two techniques are astronomically different. This form of Frieza during this arc, Krillin was way weaker than this guy. This is insane, bro. There's implications that if it would have actually landed on Frieza's neck, it might have would have killed him because this actually cut off Frieza's tail. You see how busted this technique is? It can help bridge the gap if the gap in power is really big. Krillin did this to a Frieza that was in his second form, and we know the base form of Frieza, a form weaker than that state that he cut, can destroy the entirety of planet Vegeta. I'm talking about vaporizing it, because vaporizing it is way more impressive than just splitting it in half or something. Folks have even calculated this to be a small star type of level feat for base form Frieza. And Frieza's power level after transforming into his second form made his power level double. And for Krillin's blast or Destructo Disc to have implication that it could threaten his life if it actually hit his neck or something, it only hit his tail, there was implications because of stuff like this. If we assume Frieza has similar durability to his blast power output, Krillin being able to threaten his life means that his Destructo Disc can cut things as dense as stars or durable as small stars. Cutting power that can cut something that has the durability or density or mass of a star. It kind of makes you wonder, why is this technique not spammed more? It's ridiculously powerful. Imagine a Super Saiyan Blue Destructo Disc. Oh, that's right, Jiren caught it and threw it back. Oh, never mind, I guess it's not that powerful no more. Are we just going to ignore that this dude can spam the Destructo Disc like this? In Dragon Ball Super, we know Goku and them are way past him at this point. They even talk about how there's a ridiculous power difference. So I'm not by any means trying to say he's anywhere in Goku's league in any of these new forms. And I know Goku in this scene is heavily suppressed and holding back a lot, but the fact Krillin did a beam struggle with Super Saiyan Blue Goku is just insane to me. I don't care if he's using 1% of his power, bruh, or less than 1%, or using 1,000th of his strength. For this to last for a millisecond, this is cool as heck, even though I know Goku's holding back a lot, but still. But guys, at this point, he has to be above planet and star shattering levels if his beams can do this with Goku, even though he's nowhere near his power. Even in this scene, he was getting overwhelmed, so I'm not trying to say he's on his level at all. Pushed him back for 2 seconds, but yeah, Goku started pushing him back. You know this was inevitable. And Krillin was burnt out after it. But yo, you gotta respect the human, man. So all in all, he's very powerful, but in comparison to the top tiers, he's extremely weak. So a lot of people get that misunderstood, meaning that he would be weak in other universes. He would actually be pretty crazy. I mean, what other humans in Dragon Ball do you even think could even have a friendly sparring session with Android 18? Even if this is friendly and she's holding back not trying to kill him, this is still cool. Look what happens when other humans that are nowhere near Krillin's level try to hurt Android 18. It's obvious, even holding back, she couldn't have a friendly sparring session with him. The gap is just too astronomical. But at the end of the day, all of this could be just me. Do you respect Krillin? Being weaker than Goku and Vegeta, you could still be way weaker than Goku and Vegeta and still be a planet buster. Or a solar system buster, you would still not necessarily be anywhere close to them either. But before I get going, I gotta say quick thanks to the donators. It helps out a lot. Respect Krillin though. I'm glad you are enjoying your time on the channel. Make sure you check out the playlist on the channel to see other How Strong videos. If you like what this channel is offering, make sure you hit that subscribe button, and I will see you guys later.